right, good morning, everybody. Happy Ferrari February. Holy shit, what a groundbreaking announcement. So Lewis Hamilton, spoiler alert, by the way. Lewis Hamilton signing with Ferrari. It seems to be all but complete and finalized, at least for the 25 season. I'm hoping that they were able to work something out for the 24 season. I don't know how the contracts work. Nobody does, so don't act like you do. In our chat, Paulie, or anybody. I just said Paulie because he's the honorary. To me, Paulie is the honorary European F1 guy who comes and shits on everything that is American F1 or whatever people say. It's like, oh, you guys are just idiots. You new guys to the sport. Whatever, Paulie. Anyways, so we got Canadians, we got Europeans, we got assholes, we got everything in our group, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be completely honest with you. So to elaborate on that a little bit, again, Lewis Hamilton almost certainly inked to Ferrari. It's really crazy that there was so many rumors and rumblings about that all throughout last year, and nothing ever really leaked that was like substantial. Oh, hey, Siri doesn't understand either. But anyways, there wasn't anything that was like substantiated throughout the media. And you got to assume that those people are digging around all kinds of places. I remember a press conference very distinctly where Leclerc is sitting there, and I think it might have been the Monaco one because I remember the design on his hat for some reason, and I believe it was Monaco inspired. But it said some reporter asked him about speculation about your teammate for the next season and blah blah blah, and Lewis was sitting on the couch with him, and Charles looks over and is basically goes, well, hello, Lewis. I'm pretty sure that was his exact words he said. And how crazy is it that that's actually coming to fruition here on February 1st? It's pretty nuts. I was kind of celebrating in the chat earlier this morning, and Lewis is probably my second favorite driver on the grid, right behind Leclerc. So having your two favorite drivers who are on separate teams end up joining forces at any time in their career is actually pretty cool. I don't know how often that really happens. It's easy to be like, oh, well, I just like McLaren, I like Piastri, and I like Lando Norris. That's a pretty like easy one. But if you got drivers that you like on separate teams, like I really like Albon a lot. I think I'd probably be just as excited, if maybe less, but if Albon decided to join Ferrari and take over Sainz's seat. And I don't dislike Sainz. I think Sainz is a really great driver. He obviously won a Grand Prix last year, the only non-Red Bull winner of a Grand Prix last year. Very talented driver, and I think he gets kind of the shit end of the stick on Ferrari for whatever reason. The fans want to latch onto him as you know, some sounding board for the frustrations with Ferrari and things like that. But it's not Sainz's fault. Sainz ran pretty well last year. You know, he got a W, and he kind of kept them above water for most of the year when they were had issues. So it's pretty cool though, at any rate, to see Lewis. I will be on record. I certainly didn't think that he would ever leave Mercedes. It's one of those things, and I do this with all sports. I did it with Nick Saban. I do it with guys like Mike Tomlin's a good example now. People are like, oh, Mike Tomlin's going to leave and go somewhere else. It's like, bullshit. Unless he gets shipped out the door, he's not going anywhere. They're building statues of this guy, you know, outside the stadium. I feel that way for like all these guys. Like Nick Saban's going to have a statue next to Barry Bryant. There's just no way those guys are leaving like one team to go to another. I just don't ever see that. The Harbaugh thing's a little bit different. He left Michigan to go to back to the NFL, so I don't think that's apples to apples. I think it's a little bit different. He's gonna go leave the amateurs and go to the big leagues, and so I don't know. I just never thought Lewis, and if Lewis was going to go anywhere, I thought maybe he'd retrace his roots back to McLaren. That might be something down the line, but there's no way he was leaving Mercedes in my eyes, especially at the point where he's at in his career now. Anyways, so cool on the F1 news. Silly season has officially begun. It's February 1st. We got some livery reveals and all that stuff happening soon, which is cool. I think we are 29 or 30 days until the Bahrain testing and all that stuff. Again, pretty good time for me. Super Bowl's about to wrap up. We get to watch hopefully what's a decent game. I was laughing earlier. I think Painter and I were talking about who's a better driver between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and someone chimed in like, oh, Max is not Lewis, but really the best way you can really make a parallel if you're a football fan coming over to F1 and if you're newer or whatever. Max is definitely Patrick Mahomes and Lewis is definitely Tom Brady. There's really no better comparison than that. I think the writing's kind of on the wall. I think we all know, and whether you want to believe it or not, whether you're a Chiefs hater or a Mahomes hater, that Mahomes is going to be better than Brady, and might already be in his career and things like that. He just looks the part, and that's kind of where Max is compared to Lewis. And I know people are going to be upset about that, especially the European fans. They're going to be a little bit upset about that one, but that's just kind of like, to me, it's just a fact. It's really not up for debate at this point. If Max continues his career, and obviously he's going to get on the best teams whenever he wants. Everyone's picking up the phone. Max Verstappen calls you, so he'll be able to go wherever he wants, and we'll see how both of their careers play out and see where they end up in the history books. But that's kind of my comparison, and I really don't think there's one better out there. I'm going to take a drink of this Prime real quick. I'm a little parched from all my excitement this morning, starting at about 7:15 a.m. All right, good deal. I got a little blue raspberry Prime going this morning. That's pretty decent flavor. If you haven't had Prime, make sure to check one out. And Prime, if you're listening to this, we're not sponsored by Prime, but we're certainly willing to listen to some offers. So if you want to make the call, happy to chat numbers with you guys. We got, we're almost in the double digits worth of listeners for the pod. So if you want to make me an offer, I'm certainly happy. I love your products, so feel free to reach out. I'll put my number in the link below to the video. At any rate, I wanted to talk a little bit about the race this week. Actually, this happened yesterday. Hopefully, this gets put up. This morning as I park. It's about 9:30 right now. I got about 45 minutes left on my drive, so I'll keep you guys company for a little bit, or you'll do the same for me. Keep me company. So, the race yesterday in Australia in Albert Park. It was, I'll admit, it's not one of my favorite tracks. I was kind of lamenting to, I think it might have been David in Austin. Maybe it was in the post-game lobby. I was talking with, Keaton, and I was talking to Doug, maybe Painter for a little bit, and Will. I was just talking about how, and this isn't meant to sound any kind of way. I know what it's going to sound like, and I really don't give a shit. And take your feelings and stuff them up your ass. I don't care. But the tracks that are classified as very easy on the schedule, I think one thing that's great about them is the pack is tighter. You could tell by our time trial results, a lot of people, I want to say there was almost a dozen people within a second or so on the time trial, which is great. That's cool. Race around people, that's fine. But what I'll say is it's not really, don't buzz at me, it's not really a good way to me, as a skill expression, I guess, you might say. A track like we're about to go to, and we'll get to that in a minute here. But anyways, the track in Australia is classified as very easy, and there's not really a lot of places where you can make really egregious errors. I guess there's places you can make errors, but there's not a lot of places where you can make up time. There's kind of like a one set way you can run that track in order to produce the best result. So, and it's pretty well known, and it's really a lot of straight liney stuff. It's kind of like, Monza, I think, is classified as very easy. I want to even say Red Bull Ring might be classified as very easy. It's one of those short tracks, not a lot of turns. You kind of just get to load up, and if you hit the exits on a couple of the apexes, you're in pretty good shape, especially if you get carried by some people's DRS trains and things like that. You get carried through there. So I'll show you. Not my favorite track, I will say. I put a little bit of practice in there, probably about a handful or more of hours into the track to get where I got. I was making up a lot of time on Wednesday morning once I kind of figured out a couple different things about my setup and my tire pressure that I liked, and you guys are gonna laugh, but anyways, I figured out some things I liked about my setup, and the way I race might be different than other people's racing. So it's cool. That's one great thing about the setups is whether you're a straight line guy, whether you're a curvy guy, whether you brake hard, whether you are a late braker, whatever it is, the way you race is the way you can tailor your setup. And this game does a lot better job about that in comparison to 22, which is my only other measuring stick for that. But you can really tailor your setup to how you like to drive, and that's been a big point for me this season. Is rather than I'll take someone's setup on the time trial leaderboards for like the world leaderboards, and I'll kind of customize it to where I feel like I need to be, because I know the way I race, right? And that's learning yourself. And this is gonna sound like my therapist coming out. Thanks, Samira. Shout out to you, by the way. But once you learn yourself, you're better equipped to handle things like going in the future. So you can kind of equip yourself better for races, for time trials, for one-shot quality, short quality, whatever it is. You're better equipped for those kind of things. So that's a big level up point. Hopefully, some of the rookies will listen to this and gain some knowledge. Shout out, reach out to your teammate. What do I change to get this kind of feel in the car? Hopefully, they're smart enough to be able to help you out and things like that. Otherwise, there's decent descriptions within the game, or you can reach out to me or whoever's better on the track. There's certainly better people than me to ask. I can just give you my limited knowledge on that part. But anyways, I ended up customizing my setup to where I liked it for Australia, and I was at one point. Will was first in one-shot quality through about 2 sectors, and I think I was like 3rd or 4th through 2 sectors. I had a little bit of a and it's easy again when you're running it down. That's why I don't like one-shot quality. You're running it down to one-shot quality. I got a little loose, so instead of like pushing it as hard as I wanted to, I knew it was my only chance, so I got to slow up. I ended up being, I think, 7th to start on the grid for the sprint, which, all things considered, not the worst start for me. I thought I was definitely like around 10th-ish. I know I had a really fast time trial lap, but those things don't really translate sometimes. And again, you're in like a groove at that point. That's the hard thing I think about one-shot quality for me, man, is I am a what do you want to say? I'm like a in the groove racer. I don't know. There's a better word. Someone help me out. But once I get rolling, like a couple laps in, like I'm smashing the apexes every turn, right? And you guys probably notice it if I'm behind you, because I'll start off behind you, but I'm going to catch you eventually, because I get better as the race goes longer, I feel like. And maybe that's the case for a lot of people, I think. I don't really lose focus in the race. If anything, I laser sharpen as the race goes longer on certain things, and it starts to slow down a bit. But in one-shot quality, you're really running it hard. And like I said, I didn't think 3rd or whatever I was at on the leaderboard was really indicative of my pace. Because of that, you can't really string it together that well in one-shot quality to me. But anyways, I start off 7th on the grid, I believe, either 6th or 7th maybe. And the sprint starts, right? It's 10 laps, and there was a couple different strategies. I started on softs, which I think was the correct decision, especially given the fact that there was a safety car in our sprint, which I didn't know was really going to be a possibility. But at any rate, on that, I start off on softs, I get moving, and it gets kind of hairy in turn 1. Speaking of, the buzzing noise, that beep beep beep, is me exceeding the track limits on the interstate, by the way. So if I try and make a lane change or whatever, and I don't use my blinker, my car gets pissed and shoves me back in the lane. So I exceeded the track limits on Interstate 55 South. So anyways, we get off onto turn 1, and I might get confused again. It's gonna be a little difficult because there's a sprint versus the actual race, so I don't remember what happened when. Golly, I hope I don't mess this up. It's much easier when I'm sitting not in my car cockpit trying to watch the road and all these idiots in front of me and all that. But I'm pretty sure what happened I get going, and on turn 1, I think what happened is I was on the inside right side for turn 1, and I want to say it was Keaton on my left, and I was like, my wheels were inside of Keaton's wheels, I believe, on that turn. and we made like small contact, and you know how that goes. Like on those kind of turns, when you make small contact like that, somebody goes sailing. It's usually a person whose wheels are inside of the other person's, just because they lack stability. So I start to spin, and again, this is not like a knock on Keaton. We're just going in the turn. That's just what you got to do, and it was totally clean. Nothing malicious about it at all. So we start going into the turn. My wheels are inside his. I think he gets a little bit of a better exit just based on track positioning. So my front wheels spin out to the right a little bit, and then I end up making contact on my right side with Will, my teammate, because I don't know what happened to him. But anyways, I make contact, I believe, with Will on my right side, and then I end up getting straightened out by the contact made from him, which was lucky, and I had no damage. From there, it was a little hairy behind me. I know Austin Rail was kind of in the grass at some point. I think he got pushed out. And then, of course, in true Williams fashion, there was a bright blue car come flying up right behind his teammate and cuts through a 3-wide section of between me and Austin, and then kind of cuts in front of me, and then weaves back and cuts in front of Austin. There's a whole video on it, and I got the clip if you want to see it. If you want to know why it's hard for me to drive around a certain person, it's a great video to watch. Anyways, kind of erratic, but we go on. I end up making a pass on either one or two people on the second turn of the track, and I get up, I think, to 5th or something like that. We get going, and then the safety car happens, I think, on lap 4, lap 5, which was kind of unfortunate because I thought I was starting to break away from the pack a little bit, and I think I was going to get up to 4th, and then I had to keep going on the sprint a little bit. I had some unfortunate issues. I think I got loose on once my tires hit like 20-something%, I was like, yeah, this is fried. So my tires got to pretty hefty percentage, as you do. It's a 10-lap sprint race. Your tires are going to melt quick. It's kind of the risk you run running soft tires. But my tires get a little bit burn up, and I had trouble making the left turn towards the end of sector 3, and I start to get fishtaily. I get passed by a couple people, and even I know Keaton comes and makes a good pass on me towards the end of the race to secure a position above going into the start of the actual race there. So anyways, I wanted to touch on the sprint race. I kind of enjoyed it. I think I would have enjoyed it more if the qualifying was different, which we're voting on, and it sounds like it's not going to pass, and that's okay. I think the sprints are good. My one concern is how people drive during the sprints. It's just crazy, which is what they're made for, though, right? You're supposed to drive a different way in those sprints. The only thing is, in an actual F1 car, if you crash into somebody or you crash yourself out, like, your race is kind of chalked after that. If you crash into somebody or you do something stupid in our race, you just get in a brand new car. It doesn't really matter. No harm, no foul in the full race. So maybe it's something we need to consider. Woo! Big yawn. That's me yawning about the sprint race. So anyways, that's kind of how that goes in my mind. I'm okay with doing 1 to 2. I think that's fine. And I wonder if the length of the sprints is different. I don't know. I haven't tested if the length of the sprints is different based on your length of race that you're running. So if we run a full instead of a long, I wonder if it doubles the sprint race. I honestly have no idea. Someone who's tested that can certainly let me know. But I might like a longer sprint. I do like the short race. The short race is cool. There's no strategy, though, other than run your ass off on soft tires for 10 laps or medium tires for 10 laps and hope you're faster. That's really the only strategy. So that's kind of sucks. All right, anyways, on to the race itself. And I don't have the results in front of me, so I don't really know who surprised me or whatnot. I will say that David surprised me by winning the race, in a way. I know Spees had some unfortunate luck in the sprint. I believe there was a photo I posted of Spees getting hit and being sideways in the sprint. I want to say he started 12th and ended up maybe 2nd in the race. Again, I don't remember all the results off the top of my head. I don't really want to get on my phone and start spinning. But yeah, I think David surprised me by winning both the sprint and the the actual race. I know he had great time trial results, but again, those things don't always translate. Anyways, on to the full race here. So we ran... The race starts kind of interesting, and I was laughing because I in the middle of the race, or in the middle of last night reviewing, I remembered that I almost forgot to pull. Okay. Alright. Semi's doing semi things. Hard to hate on them. They provide all our shit, so I'm a big fan of semi drivers. I know some people get pissed, but those people are supplying the fucking McDoubles that you're eating, so chill. Anyways, I was lamenting because I almost forgot to pull in the clutch to start the race, and I would have been so pissed at myself had that happened. But you can watch my replay and you see me like pull it in at the last second. I'm like, oh my god, you better do this. So anyways, we get the race started, and we're kind of rolling for a bit, and I'm on medium tires to start the race. And I was kind of on the fence with myself based on my starting position. Like, do I start on hards? Do I start on mediums? And the final thing that pushed me over the edge was like, someone's gonna spin out like mid race, hopefully around like lap 14. Woo! Hopefully around like lap 14. There'll be some shit going on, and hopefully someone spins out around then. I'm gonna burn off my mediums, and I'm gonna be the first person on hards. So I told myself, I'm gonna be the first person on hard tires. I'm gonna run these things till the end. And we're gonna have no incidents at the end towards the end of the race, because people are gonna be on new tires. They're gonna be separated enough. It's gonna be fine. Okay, that's what I told myself. So, anyways, I'm on these mediums and we run, and I want to say we're on like 10 maybe, 10 maybe. I don't know, somewhere in that neighborhood we're at. And the safety car comes out, and I'm thinking to myself like, man, I'm gonna get on these hards, aren't I? So I think I'm in 11th place at the time. And so I make a gamble. I'm out of the points anyways. So again, these are things you should be thinking of during the race with your partners, assistants as well. But you should be thinking of these things during the race, right? Like, I'm constantly thinking about it too. Like, every lap I'm thinking like, I got this many more laps to go on these. I can pit now. I can do this, if there's a safety car. You got to be thinking ahead. That's what's going to separate you, especially if we decide to go to full-length races next season. The strategy part is humongous in those. It's fine in these, but it's really, really magnified in the fulls. So I'm thinking about, like, when am I going to pit? How long can these tires last? Hey, Will, what was our testing like on the soft tires? How many laps could we go? Do you remember? Yeah, we can go 14. Okay. 14 like running hard, or 14 like running kind of slow? Okay, so I need to adjust here and there. So all this shit you got to be computing in your brain. And what's really crazy is I think about all that for the drivers and for their engineers and things like that in real F1. And they don't have like a percentage to look at on the screen. They just have a feel based and things like that. And they have a lot more information. They have somebody, as obviously it's their engine. They have a team of engineers and things like that, and principals making decisions. It's a little bit easier than what we have. I'm looking at a full mini map to see where people are pitting and track position and times that I have split just in front of me within, it's within 3 drivers, so you don't have the full picture there. But anyways, I decide I'm gonna pit onto these hards on, like, I want to say it's like lap 11, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna run these the rest of the race. I'll be a bit slower towards the end, but hopefully the time I saved going in the pits under the safety car comes back, and these guys are going to take a little bit longer time when they're not pitting under the safety car to get their pit stops in, because they obviously have to pit in front of me. So I leave the track in 11th and actually come back in 15th, which is pretty sweet. Only losing 4 spots, not bad. If you're going to make a pit stop, I think if you set item to pit, lose 4 spots, you're probably okay with that, knowing what you know, especially under a safety car. So I bring it back. I end up passing Hayden for 14th, I think. I pass Paulie for 13th. I pass Passy for 12th. And then we go like a couple more laps, and then the pit stops start happening. And I'm like, okay, we're starting to cook up. And I don't know who I'm passing at this point, because people are in the pits. I can't really remember, because people just start going. And so I'm like passing people. I'm like, all right. And Barrett, actually, I believe, shout out to Barrett, made the same call as me, jumped in the pits, got hard tires the same lap as me, and me and him were literally nut to butt for quite a while in the race. So that was a good strategy call, I think, on his part, and then he made a better strategy call at the end, which I'll get to. So anyways, we're running it down, and I want to say I get up in like the top 5 or top 3 or something as I keep moving, and the virtual safety car comes out. It's got to be late. It's like lap 20-ish, 20-something. It's in the 20s, I think. And I'm thinking to myself, like, golly, I'm in like 5th place or something like that. Do I want to jump on these soft tires now, or am I just going to run it to the end? I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to lose at least 2 spots if I don't. And again, this is again where the strategy comes in, right? Well, I know I'm going to lose these spots because Spees and David are for sure jumping on fresher tires, and they're going to be on soft, so I know they're going to be fast as shit behind me, and that's fine. And they got lucky with the virtual safety car, obviously. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, well, if I give up 2 spots, let's say I give up 4 spots, that's fine. That'll put me down to like 7th. And then you're thinking to myself, if I pit, how many positions do I lose? And then how many do I have to regain in the next, 6 laps? And do I have enough time? I came to the conclusion I didn't have enough time, which might have been a mistake. I think, thinking back on it now and like looking at it when it's paused, when I have like the slow replay in front of me, I think I made a judgment mistake by not switching to soft tires, because when I think about it, my teammate, I think, was like 6 seconds behind me. And I think behind him, and maybe it was bad information relayed between the 2 of us, because I really wanted to know who was second behind him, because behind him was Austin Real, I think like 10 seconds behind. But I really wanted to know, and again, this is something that Will and I will have to work on. I needed to know who was behind Austin to see how far that delta was, because if it was like 15 seconds, there's no reason that I shouldn't have switched to softs at that point, because I would have been in and out, and I would have been on fresh tires, and even if they go pit for fresh tires, like, I'm still in a better spot. So I think I made a judgment call error. Again, it's one of those things, if I had an actual engineer with me, I'm like, hey, what's the split? Am I coming in? And they're like, yes, box 100% of the time, get in here. Put you on some fresh softs and just start running rippers. So that was a judgment call mistake on my part. I ended up running my rear tires to about 70% by the time the end of the race was, which is crazy. I'm surprised that I stayed on the track. I was able to hold off Keaton barely at the end. Big thanks to Adam for battling with him for quite a bit, which made that possible for me, because I think he was less than 1.5 seconds behind me at the end of the race, and for sure that thing goes one more lap and Keaton passes me almost certainly on some fresher tires. So I made a bad judgment call, and again, it's good to like not get in and kick the shit out of yourself and be like, oh my god, I'm such an idiot for not doing that, and blah blah blah. Oh, look, there's a cop on my left, I see you, big guy. So anyways, it's good to make those judgment calls. Where was I at? I'm about to pass this guy. I'm going to wave on the way. Anyways, it's good to make those judgment calls and think about them afterwards. It's good to have a way to have a post race debrief, especially with your teammate. You want to make sure that you guys are making the best decisions possible, and the communication's good and all that stuff. And you want to be able to pick your own brain too. I'm like, why did I make this decision I made? And I kind of went over that here just a couple seconds ago, why I made the decision I made, and maybe the process is flawed. Maybe what I did was wrong. Maybe my process was flawed in how I was thinking. So you got to go back and revisit that kind of thing, and maybe keep better tabs during those VSCs. And those ones are hard to gauge because they could end, basically at any time. So it's really a tough judgment call to make. Unless you have to pit, then it's a great, like David and who else? David and Spees had to pit, so it's an easy choice for them, right? You got to pit, you might as well. So for someone who already pit like I did, it's kind of a tougher judgment call. But again, I think overall the race was good. I don't really have that many complaints. There was some sketchy stuff going on with some of the driving, but you're going to have that. Some people don't. Not everybody has a the proper amount of time to practice, or they choose not to practice. One of the two. And this is not meant to be a knock on anybody, but when I was in the back in 15th, I told Will, I said, I'm just going to pass these guys safely. I'm going to come off the throttle at certain points to make sure that I'm safe getting around them. And that's what I did. And I survived. And I didn't necessarily get the results I wanted, but the result that I needed was to pass those people and get into the points. And that's certainly what we did. So kudos to the props for the race. The ones that I know for sure, David gets a W, so congrats to him. He's carrying the load for Haas for now. Big shout out to Spees. I believe, I think he started 12th, if memory serves, and then he shoots all the way up to 2nd, which no surprise there with him finishing well. I know Keaton had some issues during the race, and he ended up propping himself up into the points right behind me, so big time there. Ferrari double points, big fat ass 0 for Williams. Enjoy that. I mentioned I hope they enjoy the hot dogs. I know those guys like to eat them in one bite at the Williams crew, so I'm sure that they probably put the hot dog stand out of business later last night, and the buns were soaked with tears, so shout out to them. Hopefully they were Nathan's hot dogs with a little sauerkraut on them. It doesn't get much better than that. Not a big hot dog guy, but if I'm going to eat one, it's going to be Sabret or Nathan's. There's really no other alternative. I don't care what you say. We can do a hot dog pod at some point. We can rank hot dogs. I'm sure you guys would love that one. Anyway, shout out to those peeps for their race. I'm going to wrap it up here in a second, but I also wanted to say shout out to Matthew Painter and his group of peeps. I'm exceeding the track limits again on the left side here. I want to shout out Matthew Painter and his group of peeps. It's really just the same group of peeps that we all know and love, though. It's shout out to the people that came out and hung out at Distill Brewery. If you want to get into those kind of meetups, I'll make sure to post them in the SNS Discord as well, so that you guys can be a part of them if you're local. It was a good time. We just hung out. We talked some shit. Saw some hot lesbians. That was cool too. We you guys were going opening cards or something like that. I think it was. Or I don't remember what kind of cards they were, but you guys were cracking packs. I know David had some some F1 packs he was trying to open up. But we got to get the chrome ones, guys. We got to get the good looking ones. Man, another cop just parked over there with the lights on. We got to get the chrome packs. And now I'm going to buy a Lewis Hamilton Ferrari card, maybe. But anyway, shout out to those guys for making that happen. It was cool to chill and hang out and talk some shit about the Cowboys. You know how that goes. Let's see, what else we got coming? Hopefully everybody's practicing on our next track. Holy cow, is Portugal. We're in Portugal, right? Wherever we're at, it's a tough track, man. I ran some laps last night with Will. I know some others were doing the same. That is one difficult track, I will tell you that. But I don't foresee a bunch of, the famous last words, I don't foresee a bunch of safety cars here, just because the walls are so far off the track there. But it is a place where you can make up or lose a ton of time on every exit and every entry. And I hope you guys don't practice, because I sure will be, because I suck on this track. And since it's one that's kind of foreign to me, I don't know that I've ever, we ran this a couple seasons ago, I think, but it just felt foreign to me. I was like, I don't know where any of these turns are. I don't know where this is. Oh, there's a right-hand turn here. Okay, I might want to move for that. So it's a tough track. Again, I hope you guys don't practice, because I hope to see more complaining in the Discord afterwards. Other than that, I don't really have anything for you guys. I know we're going to run this race, and then we're going to take a week off, because some of you have Valentine's Day dates, and that's really cool for you guys. I'll be racing. We're doing something. Celebrating Ferrari's reveal on that day. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Make sure, damn, another cop. Holy cow, the cop tracker, if you're keeping track at home, we should do over-under on that, is now 3. Oh, there's a 4th one there. They're side by side, so I think that counts as 4. Unless it's like Jack Black in, I think it's called Orange County. That's technically 1 nacho, when all the nachos are stuck together. Great flick, by the way. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. If you got any questions or comments or concerns, please let me know. I'm going to be happy to do like a mailbag episode at one point where I'll read a bunch of questions. So if you got things you want to talk about, you can ask me all kinds of crazy shit. What's your favorite kind of pizza? We already went over the hot dogs, so we did that. But anyways, if you guys got stuff you want to talk about, make sure to drop it in there under the pod. It makes this thing way more fun to do. I hope you like the style of content. If not, eat shit, go Ferrari.